The Year of the Tiger Part 2 animation arrived yesterday, so you guys all already know your boy Ray's gonna be breaking down every little juicy bit of detail you can get from this bad boy, so you guys don't have to. And you guys might have guessed it, there's actually quite a bit of Starr Park references in this thing to make it very interesting, if you ask me. A whole new viewpoint of Starr Park that we've never seen before. So this fun little story began just about 2 weeks ago with Part 1 of the Year of the Tiger animation coming out, and as of right now garnering over 4.6 million views. Crazy. Part 1 introduces a fun new storyline here in the game, taking place in the brand new Season 10 Year of the Tiger universe, with Fang as the main character. He happens to stumble across information of a tournament taking place here in the very near future, where some of the best fighters around the world will be competing. Fighters of the likes of Nyan Nida, Swaymaster Barley, El Tigro Primo, Orochi Edgar, as well as Major Rosa, all competing in this tournament, greeted by none other than 8-Bit. But when they show up to this tournament, 8-Bit ends up transporting them into a game where the tournament will be held. And that's the end of Part 1. Now Part 2 of course picks up where we left off. The tournament ends up going down. Now in a previous episode of Brawl News, we theorized that there would be multiple parts to this fun animation here because of a tweet coming out from someone who ended up working on this animation. Translated here, I fell in love with the memories of a 2D fighting game after a while making it. Please look forward to the next 2. But I do want to stress before we dive straight away into where the story picks up here in Part 2 that it appears there isn't going to be a Part 3, which we previously thought there was going to be. At the very end of Part 2, it kind of ends where it ends, right? There's no to be continued like Part 1 had. But I'm telling you, here in Part 2, there is a ton of juicy information that I think you guys are going to enjoy in terms of Starr Park. But as you can see, picking back up, the tournament is taking place inside an arcade machine. The artwork is changing to a more pixelated theme, which is very, very fun and what you would come to expect if they're playing in an actual arcade machine. But we have people duking it out against each other in somewhat of a battle royale, but going up against 1v1 situations here in the tournament. We have Nyan Nida up against Orochi Edgar. We have Major Rosa up against Swaymaster Barley, Rosa ending up taking the victory there. But the main fight taking place, Fang up against El Tigro Primo, and Fang wins in the end. And when you think it's all over, the timer hits 0, Fang's in first place, but it's not over yet. The final round, Fang up against Virus 8-Bit and fights against the madman 8-Bit and KOs him very easily, where they're broken out of the digital environment, going back to the normal artwork, and we see Starr Park there in the background, kicks his shoe up, and we get a beautiful sight of Starr Park there. And it pans out here in the end on the arcade machine here in this game room with only one working, the Tiger Pit, where all this took place. So as I was saying before we took a look at the animation, it doesn't appear there's going to be a Part 3 of this Year of the Tiger story as we previously thought there was going to be, seeing that it ended somewhat abruptly, right? There was a conclusion, we had a tournament winner, but I think from this Part 2 we have enough of fun, juicy things to take away from it in terms of lore here in the Brawl universe or Starr Park references. Taking a look at a tweet here by Dandy, a pretty dang popular theory crafter here inside the Brawl Stars community, saying this is the first time we get to see what's behind the Starr Park entrance in an animation. The buildings in the back of the gates are the same buildings that can be seen in the investor video, and their layout seemed to match as well. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that shoe kick up at the very end, I was so dang floored because we got to see what was behind the entrance of Starr Park in an animation itself. And if you guys can see some of the buildings there in the background, it should be pretty dang familiar. The background is almost picture perfect from the models found in the Invest in Your Future video. Take note of the left-hand side of the screen. We have those two pillars, we have the Dynamite Ride, the Wild Wild West skull, as well as the mountains in the background. If we take a look at this, the exact same. It's crazy. And then on the right side there, we have the Mortis's Mortuary building, also found in the Invest in Your Future video, the small models that the narrator was walking through. As to why Starr Park buildings are popping up in this animation, we have yet to find out its importance, but all that we can say as of right now is the sole fact that it is present in a Season 10 trailer or an animation promoting the trailer means that it's significant in and of itself, right? Starr Park just seems to kind of squeeze its way into these these things, always just reminding us that it's there in the background, yet not officially saying that it's coming back or anything like that, just kind of keeping itself in the back of our minds. That's the current state of Starr Park, man. It just keeps popping up. Now, with some of the more obvious Starr Park references out of the way coming from the animation, I next want to get straight away into some of the more not so obvious things that you might not have caught that I think have a lot of things to do with Starr Park. Now, one thing that I found really interesting coming from both of these parts is, yes, there are individual battles going on here, but there seems to be one significant bad or evil looming in the background, right? And that is 8-Bit at the very end. We can see it here towards the end of the animation. When Fang takes down El Primo, we have the timer going down, and I think much to his surprise based on his facial expressions, he didn't necessarily know he had to take down Vire's 8-Bit at the end, but he manages to do so. He faces the challenge ahead, and he ends up defeating him, kicking him away and breaking through the game here with the animation style changing, which would explain why everyone was so dang happy when Fang took down 8-Bit there, busting them out of the game. Now, I think it's really interesting the sole fact that 8-Bit was kind of the antagonist in this story, seeing that we've had a ton of different lore stuff dealing with 8-Bit. With the 8-Bit minigame, we had a huge amount of sounds coming from the WKBRL live stream regarding 8-Bit. So he's kind of like the bad guy that we keep seeing popping up, or shrouded in this mystery of like evilness. I don't know. But another curious connection that I see a lot of people making coming from this part 2 is what we've seen in the past from Starr Park. As you all know, there's a very important plot point here that people at Starr Park are being turned into playable characters in Brawl Stars, where the main narrator in the Invest in Your Future video is saying that they're playing us in the future on glowing rectangles.
In the future, the children control us. We fight in glowing rectangles.
So running theories are that people from Starr Park are getting turned into characters in Brawl Stars, where it seems the same exact thing is somewhat happening in these animations, right? It starts off in part 1, Fang in his normal environment. We have him in season 10, Year of the Tiger, just doing his thing. He's working at his job. He wants to compete in this tournament. Everything is hunky-dory. But then at the very end, 8-Bit takes them away into a video game, man. You can tell they're somewhat surprised being transferred into the game from their facial expressions. They're like, what the heck's going on? 8-Bit is taking them away into the game, where the tournament is then taking place on the arcade machine. Now, you could argue that this is just, you know, the whole vibe of season 10. We are playing inside of a retro video game here. As you guys know, in the environments or the maps that we see in Brawl Stars itself, we're playing on a large, like, handheld device, right? And honestly, I probably wouldn't be questioning all of this if the whole thing took place with this, like, pixelated artwork or inside the video game itself. But to be completely honest, I don't think it's that simple. As you can see, they break free from the video game itself, but at the very end, it pans away, and all of that fun stuff is still happening on the arcade machine, so they're still stuck inside it. And to add even more evidence that I'm sure a lot of you guys didn't pick up from this animation, that people are getting turned into playable characters here in the game, the ongoing theories with the Invest in Your Future video, we have once again the same exact thing happening here, just demonstrated in a different way. Part 1 of this animation starts off by panning away from this specific arcade machine, which is currently where Fang is working. We can see this by Fang walking right by the arcade machine and then later on taking out the trash. One very important detail that you guys need to remember while we're going through these photos is that this is a nameless arcade machine. There's nothing on it. We have basketball to the left as well as unknown. Is that Brawl something? Who the heck knows? But this one has nothing on it. But then fast forwarding into the future, where 8-Bit takes away all the people who are competing into the tournament into the video game environment, and then it pans to once again the same exact arcade machine. We have that basketball one to its left as well as the other one that we mentioned before, but then they go into character selection and then they duke it out. But then once Fang defeats Fire's 8-Bit, it appears that they exit the video game environment, seeing that it changes art styles. But once the video ends, we pan away here. The once unnamed arcade machine is now the Tiger Pit, and the players are still inside it. Quite honestly, turned into the video game itself. The arcade machine is now the Tiger Pit, and they're trapped within. And I do want to mention that this is the same exact place where Fang worked, so he was outside before, and now he's stuck and trapped in there. And if this isn't enough evidence that they were turned into controllable characters in a video game, we have this picture here, which I found really interesting. After they defeat Virus 8-Bit and the pixelation artwork wears off and they turn back into the original artwork which the animation started, we have Fang with a super button that appears above his head, and then it clicks the super button, and then he kicks his shoe up as if he's being controlled. So interesting, dude. We're literally seeing it happening in this animation. It's nuts. But yeah, I tried my best to explain what people have been talking about when it comes to this animation. Let me know what you guys are thinking with all the things that we discussed here in today's video. But yeah, guys, at the very least, this animation was incredibly interesting to try to dissect. There's a lot of Starr Park related things happening here, and a lot of questions left to be answered. Starr Park is always so dang mysterious. Hopefully those guys aren't stuck in that game, man. It looks like they're worshiping Starr Park there. But yeah, everyone, like I said before, be sure to let me know what you're thinking about all of this. A really interesting animation if you look at it through the lens of Starr Park theory crafting and stuff like that. That's for dang sure. Lots of layers. But if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to slap a like on it. I'd really appreciate that. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Keep having fun with Brawl Stars, and we'll see you in the next video. Adios, everybody. Take care.